Well, hello. I thought I would talk today about these things, aka my feet. I can get it to focus. So, I've been barefoot for almost 5 years now, and I get a lot of questions. And I like to update people because things are changing for me. I've done videos in the past. I wrote a book called Walking Barefoot with Your Best Friend, which you can find online, in the link below. I attempted to run a marathon barefoot, having only done it for 8 months, and I have a video all about that experience, and I've definitely learned a lot. I think when I first started being barefoot, it was a bit more of this, like, wow, this is wild, and it feels right, and it makes total sense. And then when I started, accidentally becoming a barefoot influencer and getting millions of views and getting my feet famous on the internet, I started to get a little bit more, the ego started slipping through, and it was like, let me push this, let me prove to people or show them that I can do it. And in some cases I put myself in probably stupid situations, but along the way I've learned a lot about this barefoot journey, and there's a lot that might open you up to understanding what it means to be more barefoot. Now, people can look at being barefoot as weird, or people look at me like I'm like homeless or a hippie or dirty or whatever it is. But when you know the truth, when you know what it really means to be barefoot and to have these things, just really shine through, a beautiful thing can start to unfold. A beautiful thing can start to happen where we take off the mask, if you will. I akin it to waking up, right? We spend our life trying to be somebody, trying to exist as though we're this person that society wants us to be, and one day we realize it's all a bunch of crap, and we take the false mask off, and underneath is this being, and we're like, oh, whoa, who am I actually, right? That's how I feel about being barefoot. You take off the shoe, and you're like, wow, there's this incredible thing underneath, this amazing foot that has so much potential, and I'm like a baby again, and I'm vulnerable, and I need to allow my foot time to really come alive again. And surprisingly, it doesn't take as long as one would think. Aja and I do a lot of barefoot stuff, of course, and we were walking the other day on the driveway here, and the driveway is incredibly rocky, and if you were to run on it, which I have, and your feet weren't ready for it, even my feet are like, wow, that's an experience, but when I walk slow, and we were doing this exercise, we were just walking really slow, and this is something you can do on different terrain that feels maybe intense. Walking really slow, you take one foot and you just gently press it down and allow your foot to mold to the surface. And then once you have firm footing with that foot, then you let the next foot go. And it's very meditative, and you do the same thing. You slowly put the next foot down into it. It's kind of like molds onto the surface. And then once that's secure, you go with the next foot, right? I guess I can't show you right now. Well, why not? So let's say this is, a hard surface. It's like allowing my foot to mold, and then my foot's really secure down here. And then I can start to go this way. And the nice thing is, if my back foot's secure, then this foot can slowly go down. If something is too sharp, I can just pull it away. Right? Just walk away, just pull it away. And the beauty of this experience, and I just realized that my phone has like a special focusing thing, so I don't know how good that's going to look. But the beauty of this experience is that you allow yourself to start to reawaken the foot, right, without overdoing it. Like I said, I've had times where I've really pushed my feet, like when I was training for this barefoot marathon in the mountains that no one ever had done. I maybe put myself in some precarious situations, which I don't recommend, but everybody has their own journey, and I learned a lot. And I learned in that process that to me it wasn't about, having a special time or breaking a record, or it was like, no, I just really love being barefoot and living my life and walking in nature, because it connects us to something. And yes, you can put on a shoe and you can get through something much faster. But when we start to see the impact of that, how it affects our body, the amount of money we're spending on shoes, a lot of things start to open up with the barefoot world. And I could go on and on for hours and hours and days talking about it. But I want you to get connected to the subtleness that happens when your feet, right, are freed from the foot prison and starting to touch the ground. Now, there are lots of great shoes out there that people are really into, minimalist brands. Zero is right down the road here. Vivo Barefoot, Soft Star. There's a lot of good brands out there, and more every day, it seems, coming out trying to make shoes that are more barefoot friendly. And when I first started the journey, I was like, no, you got to be barefoot, and I was kind of this purist and a bit more extreme about it. And over time, I just was like, well, really what matters is, can we just get people to appreciate and love on their feet? It doesn't matter if you wear shoes or not, right? Now, in the process of loving on your feet, you're going to be like, oh, maybe I should consider what kind of shoes I should be wearing. Or if I'm wearing sandals, maybe there's ones that support my foot to be a foot more than just like putting myself in this foot prison and then just losing all mobility. That to me is the biggest problem, when we lock ourselves in this foot prison and we lose mobility. And it almost starts to become like kind of insane when I think about the types of shoes that are out there and people shoving themselves in like heels to look taller and not concerned about the fact that they're like destroying their foot, and their foot starts to change, and it affects their knees and their back, and all these things start to happen. When the foot is amazing, it's like our hands, they have so much functioning and so much mobility, and if we were just to wear mittens all day, think about how little we could do. Maybe we're protected in some situations, like they say, it's the right tool for the right job, something that Barefoot Ted told me once. But most of the time we don't want to be wearing mittens, right? Because there's only so much we can do. It's helpful from taking a hot pan out of the oven to have like my pan things, but I'm not going to be cooking and holding a sharp knife with that, and I see feet the same way. So if you're on this barefoot journey, first off, know that if you can see it not as oh, this is better, I'm doing something better and I'm better than you, and if you can just see it as a reverence for feet and honoring of feet and honoring of this beautiful piece of ourselves that is the root of our entire being, well, then things start to open up and make sense in a really beautiful way. If you're like, oh, the foot is magical and I just want to honor what it's capable of doing and learn that process, then we can start to take the slow process of rewilding our foot. Then we can slowly and subtly allow ourselves to walk a little bit more and more barefoot every day. That was part of my journey when I first started going barefoot. I was hiking some mountains, and they're rocky and pretty wild terrain, but I would just do a little bit more, and then slowly it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to wear shoes anymore. And even in this new environment, I moved to a new place that's, in some ways less rocky, but the terrain's been challenging. We have cacti in a lot of places, and it's been really dry, so the grass kind of dries up and gets like crunchy and hard, and there's roots that stick up that I step on that feel like I'm stepping on freaking spikes. My foot has been challenged, and now it's feeling really good, but the first few months I was like, wow, new terrain, I need to almost like rewild my foot again in a weird way, and give myself that time. And I do homesteading and building a lot of outdoor things that people might say you should have shoes, and it does maybe slow me down. I could do things, I could trek through the terrain much faster with shoes and boots. And I'm not saying I shouldn't wear boots or you shouldn't, but I found I've designed a lifestyle in a way where I can be slower, I can take my time, and it might seem like I'm wasting time, but being in that meditative, mindful state, it keeps me more in a restful state. It keeps me more connected. I'm starting to make choices based on my feet being bare, whereas if I had boots, I'd actually would probably make different choices. So there's no right way to live, but what I'm trying to get people to remember is that I gotta get that sun in my face, is that when you're being more barefoot and when you're honoring what the foot wants to be, it does change who you are and the things that you do, and it's going to slow you down, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with slowing down and being more aware when I'm stepping. And maybe the other day was like, got to be careful. There's a lot of rattlesnake. I see a rattlesnake every day, she said. And, I know she's been kind of curious about my feet and make sure I'm careful. And I'm like, to be honest, I probably less likely to step on something because I'm so aware of where I'm stepping. You can have a boot on or a shoe on, and you could step on a rattlesnake and get bit somewhere. For me, because I'm so aware of where I'm stepping, I'm seeing and listening and being aware of all these things around me. And we've had rattlesnakes and bull snakes on our property, and I see them and I hear them and I honor them and I let them do their thing. So if you're interested in being barefoot, like I said, I've got a book. I also did a whole course, Beginner's Guide to Being Barefoot. If you go to youenjoylife.us, you can find all these things there.